I need to understand how to handle the middle, meaning I understand that we need to do imaginary acts based on the end, but can I do imaginary acts on interviews to going well that are in the middle? So because I have to prepare and want them to go well, and or what if I have a conversation with my specific person that I want a relationship with? Can I imagine the individual conversation going well if I know he is attending the same meeting that I will be at? And if I do, will these imaginary acts occurring in the middle mess up my big imaginary act? Does this make sense? This makes perfect sense. Period. Perfect sense. So there would be very specific ways that I would handle these events. So in the big picture, I would persistently or consistently be imagining after I have already gotten the job. So Neville gives this great example, and I've used it before, where the job that you want, you would actually go there in real life or look up pictures and where it is, etc., study the area, and then bring that into your imaginal act. So once you are, once everything, the ball is rolling, right? You set the ball rolling, you start getting interviews or whatever, what have you. Each event that I do come up against, this doesn't relate to the idea with the going into the desk, I just realized, and seeing where the working environment is. What I would do is effectively, I don't, it gets tricky, right? Because if you're manipulating the middle based on fear and trying to move it towards an ultimate end, generally speaking, there are issues. However, everything that comes my way, I still imagine for the best outcome of that thing, but it really has to do with what we're feeling or experiencing inside. And I'll explain to you what I mean in a little bit more thorough explanation. The times I have seen people mess up their manifestations, generally it's always unfolding with a specific person. So the time I've seen manifestations fail, and this has been in my own experience, have been with specific people and only specific people, or one specific person. And it has to do, but I see this more and more often with my clients, or well, before they're my client, or if they don't listen, trying to, in a very manipulative way, continuously manage and control the way everything is going to go in attempt to move it towards the end. So there's a deception or an extreme fear and how do I even explain this? It's an extreme fear and control thing. So the grip that they have is so tight, and so like when they would imagine going on a date with them or meeting up with them or them leaving their girlfriend or whatever the case may be, that's when I've seen people run into issues more times than not, in the sense of that category of manifestation seems to get people's heads in a vice and therefore messes things up because they want it so bad. So that's one example of this. But when I am faced, here's the thing that I think is too much overlooked, or if you have imagined a job and you get an interview, right? If you've imagined a job to the best of your ability, you've imagined sitting in your desk, you've imagined getting your paychecks, right? Not getting a letter of acceptance, not saying you're hired, none of that stuff matters, right? But the point is this: when I imagine some end, if things start coming my way, one of them, it must be for my end. What I mean by that is, if I imagined having a job and I'm employed, and then suddenly I have an interview, or I have 5 interviews, I already know that one of them must be or should be for my end. So in effect, I would still imagine that I did very well, in the sense I would probably imagine saying the interview went excellent, right? Because I take the event for what it is, and I will talk to a friend about it or my mother about it or something like that. But I take the event as it comes, but it's almost unnecessary or it's almost redundant because, and I've seen this so many times, that if I've imagined something and then I start seeing things come my way, you already know that it's coming towards your manifestation. And if not, then either I haven't imagined properly or I'm imagining the wrong thing, such as the middle, right? So like job interviews, I would never imagine for like say it was nighttime and say I wanted to get a job right now. And I'm just thinking, okay, I want to get a job. I would never imagine a job interview. And why? Why is that? Because it's the middle, right? So I'm not saying I've imagined having a job and then I get an interview, and so I'm not going to imagine an interview. What I'm saying is, say right now, I say I'm done with this. I want to manifest myself a career in computer science somewhere. I will never imagine an interview. I will imagine either celebrating a 1-year anniversary of employment or talking to my mother or a friend on the phone, explaining how I've gotten, I love the position that I'm at. I love the job that I'm at. I love the income that I'm making. I love that I love my job, right? From there, the bridge of incidents will begin. So, but here's the thing. I want to put my time and effort imagining properly. This is something that's, we need jobs, we need incomes, these types of things, right? So I would put my effort and energy each night, each day, creating subconscious mind tapes, creating statements, which if true would imply that I have the best luck, that I'm always considered first, that I always receive what I am after, that I always get jobs that I apply for, that all the best jobs come my way. I would do that. I would make subconscious mind tapes from that. And then I would deliberately, just as I did when I had got this, when I made this business, it was a general scene, which implied that I had my own business, that I worked only a couple days a week, that I was on vacation. I can be remotely wherever I worked, and on and on and on. Whatever was coming in the interim, right? None of that stuff. If I've already imagined the end, I don't need to imagine anything in the middle because I'm already going to that end. Meaning, if something's popping up, then it's either the right one that's going towards the thing that I've imagined, or it's not. And it's not going towards the thing that I've imagined. So essentially what I'm saying is I would, you just have to be careful at the way that you feel about it. But I would say that everything that I get into, no matter what, I always, for that event and that event alone, as I'm going into it, I will always imagine that I've done a good job. So for one last example, I've imagined the VIP program becoming extremely successful. I've imagined my channel becoming extremely successful. And I've imagined my business becoming extremely successful. I've imagined more things. When I am approaching a Q&A like this, I will still imagine telling, for instance, my cousin after that Q&A was awesome, right? That is, and so I hope that answers your question. But if you have, like I said, the reason I specified the specific person thing and imagining the middle is because I have seen multiple things. The first thing I've seen is nothing happens, right? Imagining the middle. The second thing I've seen is that it does happen, but it doesn't connect to your end, and so you're just heartbroken. That's the one that I see more than anything, right? And this happens when you go on dates or want a text message or something. You'll get the text message, maybe, but then it has nothing to do with your end result, and so communication dies after that, right? Your seed will grow from A to B, which is why imagining the middle really doesn't have much effect. You can still direct it gently, like the bridge of incidents, as we talk about, which I will do. Like I said, when I'm coming upon something, I'll always imagine that as it comes to me, I will imagine it better. But generally speaking, if this is going towards me, my VIP blowing up, or like in a good way, or if this is going towards my business getting bigger or whatever, in the end, the business will still get bigger. In the end, whether this went terrible or great, I will still receive my end. So my point is here is I would still imagine for everything that comes your way. This is what I do. So if I'm meeting with someone, then I will imagine that that meeting went well. I don't imagine having the meeting in the first place if it's not what I want. If I want to have a job, I'm not going to imagine the interview. I'm going to imagine the job. And when the interview comes, I'll imagine that the interview went well. And I think that's a very concise way to say it. And I think I'll stop there with that one, actually. Does that make sense? Raise your hand.